questions. If you were to do psychedelics with anybody in history, what substance would it be? Mind you, marijuana is a mild hallucinogen. Who is the figure and what is the 7-7?
I wanted more time to think. The obvious answers to me are like the people that, like when I was growing up, I would watch people that I was attracted to counterculture figures like a Bill Hicks or a George Carlin, and then I would hear, in a free internet world, I'd hear them say like one important phrase that would then let me find a different person, and it was when Bill Hicks was like what Terrence McKenna would call 5 dried grams. I was like, who's Terrence McKenna? And then like I learned about him through there, and so I don't know, I'd have to probably go back to the people. I definitely was a little bit of like, grew up in a dare culture, and I kind of took the Kool-Aid for a little bit in that area. I was an only child. I didn't have like an older brother to get me to do bad things, and so I was a pretty good kid for a long time, but I was attracted to these counterculture people, and then I would think like, what do I like about them, or these people aren't like anyone else in my life, and I want to be more like them. How did they explain how they got to be the way they are? And then it would be like mushrooms. And so then I was like, oh, well, maybe I do like mushrooms because the only people that I hear talking about it think in a really interesting way, and I want to be more like that, and I want to think along those kinds of lines, so maybe it's not so bad. And so I'd probably say, maybe it's not a super exciting answer, but a George Carlin or a Bill Hicks. Yeah. I would probably want to go with Bill Hicks to where he saw the UFO on mushrooms, which I think is Joshua Tree, or the Integratron outside of Joshua Tree. That is a crazy place. You know, the George Van Tassel stuff? George Van Tassel saw UFOs, and Howard Hughes believed them because Howard Hughes would take time out of his billionaire schedule to go out to visit George Van Tassel, and then they built the Integratron, which they said was good. It was a facility that could do astral travel and time travel and healing. And then they've changed it now. It still exists. You see it right off the highway in California. But now it's just like a meditation sound bowl thing. And it's been really watered down and dumbed down, just the way like now we get a wafer at church. It probably used to be something more like a mushroom. So yeah, I don't know. That's probably that's where it would be. It's at the Integratron with Bill Hicks.
Didn't you see the UFO at Avery? I spent 3 fucking hours driving you to fucking Avery, and like 3 hours back. Anyway.
That's true. When I was in London, when I first met Gordon in physical space, it was through a odd circumstance where my wife and I went to Europe, and we heard everybody talk about, oh, you just take trains everywhere. So we flew there. Well, we rented a car, and that was a bad idea because if you go through different countries, it's like $1,000 per border you cross. And so we had to drive back. Half our trip was just retracing our steps. But then we didn't have anywhere to go, and trains are actually kind of like planes. You need to buy your tickets in advance, or it's like a 5x cost the day of. So we just looked at our narrow options, and going to London was one of them. Hit Gordon up, met him at his work, went to the British Museum, which was amazing, and then I wanted to go to like Stonehenge. She's like, don't go to Stonehenge, let's go to Avebury, and it's another stone circle, it's more off the radar, and that is where, you're right, now that you refresh my memory, that's where Bill Hicks saw the UFO. Integratron still might win out. I don't know if Bill Hicks ever went there, but Avebury is pretty awesome.
So like mine's inevitably ayahuasca and the fucking jungle, fine, like I was there last week, but in terms of person, the advocates, and I'll tell you for why. It's because, and I only got this like when Gregory Shaw was on the show last year, was, oh fuck, like the advocates, what it means is that in the Eastern Mediterranean world, amongst what we now call the Neoplatonists, there was something like a shamanic understanding of the imaginal, where the human is a sacred being that has its own unconscious, and there's this like overlap era, like space, mangrove swamp level where you can interact with the divine, with the gods, and then beyond that is the world of the gods. And I looked at that and I'm like, this is fucking Amazon shamanism. Like, I didn't like, when you are new at magic, you learn the Iamblichus is correct about ritual, and then you move on and you learn other stuff. But it was from this book that I realized, oh my god, I would like to take that motherfucker to the jungle, and obviously this presupposes that I speak whatever version of Greek that he did, and I have yet to master sufficient Spanish to get on the boat to get to the retreat center that I would take him to. But other than that, it would be Iamblichus, and it would be ayahuasca. This is a real Cluedo, like Iamblichus, ayahuasca, yeah, the lead pipe in the kitchen. Yeah.
Definitely a much more intellectual answer than mine, but let's have the next one.